boy, Glennis, we got a humdinger this week.
We sure did. On our commute into the studio, we got a really exciting news alert.
The drop of the Epstein info. We have to talk about the shutdown, the end of the shutdown. We have to talk about Republicans stealing all of our money. There's so much going on. This week is bursting at the seams with news. There's some good news that we're going to be bringing as well, but definitely feels after the November election like things have been dialed up a notch, if you ask me.
We are at an 11.
We're at an 11, y'all. Let's get into it. We have to start this morning with the breaking news that just came out within the last hour that House Democrats have released a email from Jeffrey Epstein that said Trump was alone at his house with one of his victims for hours. He refers to him as the dog that hasn't barked.
Right.
And implies or outright says that Trump is aware of Epstein's overall activities.
And an important note is that email was sent years after Trump claimed he had a falling out with Jeffrey Epstein.
I can already hear our listeners. Does it even matter? Nothing matters. Nothing sticks to Trump. He's never held accountable for anything at all. Does it even matter that this is coming out?
Yes.
Why?
I think it matters because there's no denying that Trump is protecting himself and others in his universe. He's protecting pedophiles above and beyond the American people who, as we've seen in the last month, have been struggling. It's one thing when Trump lies. I think it's another thing when Trump lies about pedophilia.
It's also coming at a moment where MAGA world is already at war.
Right.
We've talked about it, but you have this Tucker Carlson versus Ben Shapiro faction split that is truly tearing MAGA world up in big ways. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene out here on the stump on every media outlet that will have her saying that Donald Trump has forgotten about everyday working Americans and that he's not focused on the right things. MAGA is imploding in some senses, and Epstein as an issue has already proven to be a radioactive wedge for these people where you have these elite Republicans, Donald Trump included, who are doing everything they can, bending over backwards, shutting down the government, closing Congress for months in order to avoid any type of vote or accountability on Epstein. And so it does matter that we're having new information in Epstein's own words, a confession, if you will, that implicates Donald Trump in pedophilia, in sex trafficking.
Human trafficking, sex trafficking.
We have more to learn as to what's going to come out from this email that has been released. But I do think it matters at this moment in time as Trump's presidency is hitting new lows in his popularity and his ability to get anything done.
It's crazy. I also want to remind people, because this was in the news last week, the Doge of it all, how Elon Musk came in, cut full departments, one of the most important being USAID, which we now know will contribute to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of deaths over the next 10, 20, 30 years, many of which will be children. He just got a $1 trillion pay package from the Tesla board.
Yeah. Billionaires is
a thing of the past.
Pittance now. Mark Cuban's Pavo. Like, Mark Cuban is broke compared to where Elon Musk is about to be. And again, it's all via extortion.
And to your point from last week's episode, we need to have leaders that are elected who can speak to and develop policy that will regulate against or for these new AI horizons we find ourselves in. So let's talk about the Dems. Let's talk about the government shutdown. Our vibe was so high last week. Like, we were like, we won, baby. Like, it was great. We were feeling energized. We were feeling like the Dems that were elected really spoke to and were motivated by and represented like this new base and energy. And then cut to what, 2 nights ago?
Cut to Sunday.
Sunday night.
They couldn't let us have 7 days. We just wanted to bask in the glory of unambiguous victory for 7 days, and they could not let us do it. They said, let me slip a knife right into your back real quick. Don't want to spoil the mood. Don't mind me. Don't mind the handle sticking out of your back. I will first start and say how bad it is, and that I think it's really par for the course that Democrats would sort of blow this opportunity so hard that there was no message and no plan for how to come out of the shutdown with the same level of energy that they were managing the shutdown. Because all the polling showed, the last major poll while the shutdown was on showed that over 50% of people were still blaming Republicans. Democratic blame was in the low 30s. So we were winning.
And we still should be winning. This is still entirely Republicans' fault. And the reality is that people were going to starve. People were going to go hungry. And I agree with you. I wish the Democrats came out on Sunday night and said, enough is enough. We have tried with Republicans. We have pushed them as far as we can. They are making absolutely no concessions. And we see you, American people. We see that you are going hungry. You know, we see that the airport lines are exceedingly long and that flights are getting canceled. We don't want you to suffer at the hands of Republicans anymore. So we are going to open the government. Like, to me, it's not that hard to continue the blame game and also like appease suffering Americans. That to me was a huge missed opportunity.
What we had instead was 8 senators going rogue, Chuck Schumer as leader voting against the bill, but them giving Republicans the votes that they needed to pass it in the Senate.
Which was 8.
In exchange for a promise of a vote in the Senate in December on ACA subsidies.
Yeah,
there's no guarantee that that will pass the Senate, although it probably will. And there's no guarantee of a House vote at all. Although Jeffries is now saying that Democrats will work on a discharge petition, which is the mechanism that they can use in the minority to force a vote, the same way that they are doing with the Epstein files. The internet exploded. Democrats are furious. The base is irate. It's giving anger from inside out. Like, people are fuming. And I get it. And I am too. Like I said, I think it's a huge failure. It reinforces for me why Schumer's completely out of his league, because he doesn't have the strategic mind to see how he can get out of that scenario. He can only think about, well, how should I vote? Well, I'm going to vote no. And maybe people will like me because I voted no. Like, not even fucking remotely close to the level that we need of 45D chess at this point.
Yeah.
What I will also say is, we said from the very beginning, this was always the most likely path. The party out of power who withhold the votes to create a shutdown never get the thing that they demand in exchange for their votes in American history. It's not to say that it can never happen, and I'm glad that they did it, and I wanted them to actually continue. But this was the likely outcome, which is why it's so disappointing that he had no plan for how to make this outcome a success.
Yeah.
That is where I'm like, you got to go.
I agree. I mean, if this was always, as we talked about, the likely outcome, and that the goal was to raise the salience on how expensive healthcare is going to be in this country because of Republicans,
right,
I do think we mostly accomplished that. But to know that that's the goal, and to not have your sunset plan for the shutdown and the messaging and the comms, to me is a true lack of leadership.
I agree. The piece of the compromise that was TBD all along was how long they would fund the government in a CR, continuing resolution. Because the original bill that they voted on 15 times was basically already null and void, because it only worked through the end of November. So
bad.
It went on so long that they had to create a new one. So they ran it through the end of January. And what that means is they now have these little less than 3 months to negotiate full year-long budgets for all of the federal agencies, or we're going to have another shutdown. And so we do have a situation. This is sort of the silver lining, and where Schumer should have anchored, in my opinion, is we're going to have a vote in the Senate on the ACA. The House must hold a vote on the same bill. If the House in December refuses to hold a vote on the same bill, Democrats will shut down the government again in January, which I know is like super upsetting to a lot of people. I've gotten a bunch of DMs when I said that online of like, I'm a federal worker, I can't deal with that. And I fully get it. It comes down to pain tolerance, right? That Democrats are usually unwilling to be the direct cause of pain, even if that means that more harm is created indirectly. Right. And that is the wrong calculation.
Right.
And so people increasing, as you already are experiencing, premium increases of $1,000 plus a month by the millions and crashing our healthcare system is worth fighting for, even when that causes other pain. All public policy is trade-offs.
Yeah. I also want to make a point on the premium, which I think more people will begin to realize if this is not resolved in some way, which is that the premiums are skyrocketing. Yes. They're also skyrocketing for businesses.
Yep.
So if you are a business that provides your employee with health insurance, your line item could be doubling. That impacts the economy, period, because if businesses are taking on a higher line item for their employees to have access to health insurance, maybe the bonuses aren't coming because they have to cut costs. Maybe employees have to pay more monthly out of their paycheck for that health insurance to cover the cost. The employees are spending less money. It is so much bigger than just, the people who are on Obamacare. It will impact everyone.
Right. It's especially insidious because you have to combine that with the fact that Republicans also cut $1 trillion from Medicaid. And the healthcare system doesn't function in a very clean supply and demand type of market. It's way more convoluted because we've put all these fucked up incentives into the system. And what that means is when you pull out $1 trillion from Medicaid and then you pull all of these people, especially young and healthy people, from healthcare plans, you're creating more risk and less money to fund the healthcare system overall. And everyone, no matter how you pay or where you get your healthcare, everyone will ultimately be impacted in terms of quality and cost. So it is an everyone issue that we're fighting for, which is why it makes sense for Dems to go all in on healthcare. We have to also say,
yes,
Republicans in the Senate snuck in this provision. We almost started the episode here because I'm literally popping off like Jiffy Pop right now because Republicans snuck this provision in. 8 Republican senators had their phone records looked up by DOJ when they were trying to figure out who plotted the attack on the Capitol, and this whole kerfuffle around how Republican members of Congress were or were not involved. Remember, there was like all the stuff about the tours and all of this shit. And so they had looked into their phone records, as you do in any investigation. And so they've put this provision in that they're going to pay themselves $500,000 each for the inconvenience that they didn't even notice happened of having their phone records looked at. Outrageous, absolute robbery. Literally dipping their hands into your savings account and pulling some out because they felt like it.
I do think they have to formally sue for damages, but but it's gonna go through.
It is a perfect example of how Donald Trump's rickety ass, nasty ass, corrupt behavior trickles out into the rest of our political ecosystem. This is just especially fast in how it's being done. Donald Trump said, I'm going to pay myself $230 million because I don't like how the government treated me. And I think that I'm above the law. And now Republican senators are doing the exact same thing. The House can strip this provision out. 40 whatever Democrats immediately wrote provisions that said, to strip that out via an amendment. And there's Republican after Republican coming out this morning saying, this is outrageous. How can these senators do this? But they're all still going to vote for the bill.
It's crazy. I also heard that it backtracks to like damages starting in 2022.
Well, right. They made it retroactive specifically for these senators to pay them out. As of time of recording, it is unclear if there are any Republican votes to remove the Republican payout provision from the bill that will reopen the government. The problem with removing it in the House is that then the bill has to go back and be passed by the Senate again, which I think actually probably wouldn't be a problem. I don't think anyone has changed their mind in 48 hours, but the House is going to use that as an excuse not to strip that provision out. Assuming that is the case, the House will be voting on Wednesday to reopen the government with Adalita Grijalva sworn in. That will be her first vote. So by the time you're hearing this, the government should be reopened unless that amendment passes in the House. Then we're looking at a situation where we're waiting on the Senate to pass a new version of the bill.
Wow. Let's vote on those Epstein files.
Right. That is worth mentioning just to sort of round out the Epstein stuff. Grijalva will be sworn in, 218 signatures on the discharge petition, and that will force a vote in the House of whether to release the Epstein files. We're expecting that vote to happen the first week of December. And it's important for people to know that it then has to go to the Senate and still has to find 60 votes in the Senate, which seems unlikely. But it creates an opportunity for us to put more Republicans' feet to the fire,
right,
both in the House and the Senate. That we want to see who votes yes and no, and who's going to protect more pedos in the House. And also, it creates pressure in the Senate on Republicans to actually do something about the bills that they claim to care about.
Should we talk about New York City?
I think we should talk about New York City.
So Mayor-elect Mamdani. Okay, so I'm feeling good. We talked about this last week. I was like, I'm a little butt clenched about who he's going to have on his transition team.
He heard you.
He heard me. He was like, oh, Glennis's butt is clenched. I better have an all-female transition team. And my number one.
There it is.
Lena Khan.
Glennis's absolute girl crush, Lena Khan.
I mean,
the former chair of the she was a chair, right?
Yeah.
The former chair of the FTC was absolute bulldog of the Biden administration, taking on Google, Amazon, Meta, every big tech company. She filed, I think, more big antitrust lawsuits than we've seen in a generation. And she's a tactician. She is everything that Chuck Schumer is not. And that was a really big deal in my eyes for him to make that hire.
Same. I was thrilled when I saw that. And then, he also brought in some like straight up New York City bureaucrats, which I truly do love to see. Like I have said, New York City, I've never worked for the city of New York, but having lived here for over a decade, I can fully understand that it is a beast to govern and to deal with all of the different parts of the city. And I really respect him bringing on people on his transition team who will help guide him to make sure that when his administration is starting, people are in place that know what the fuck they're doing. Not to say that he doesn't, but in a city like New York, I think it will be helpful to have folks who have been around the block.
What I really want to get into is the socialist panic. And I'm noticing it, especially from, you guessed it, boomers. Among college students, in a new Axios Generation Lab poll, 67% of survey respondents say they had a positive or neutral association with socialism, compared with 40% with the word capitalism. So we're seeing socialism be 50% more popular with college students right now than capitalism. And that actually is historic. That has not been true in the United States for a very long time. And we're seeing a moral panic from my perspective, from primarily people over 55 about what that means for the country, that it's the end of America, that capitalism is what makes America great, and that if you embrace socialism, it will be the downfall of all American prosperity and values. And my message to that, my response to that very much has been, why does Gen Z dislike capitalism so much? Why has the perspective, the view, the favorability of capitalism cratered? It's because boomers ruined it. It's because boomers took over the economy and were inherited this golden age of America in many respects. And they used it and manipulated it to cling to power and enrich themselves over the generational project of improving the standing of your children. That like boomers have made decisions since the 90s, especially Republicans, but boomers overall, I will hold Democrats' feet to the fire too, that have continually prioritized their own well-being over the next generation, which is not how it's supposed to work
Right.
in America, right? You have a stagnant
Yeah.
ceiling on what younger people can attain because boomers broke the system.
Yeah. And it's like the affordability crisis. Things are just unaffordable. Everything is too expensive. It's all connected.
It's all connected. The affordability crisis isn't a byproduct or a coincidence. It was manufactured,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like it was created by economic and policy choices
Yes.
for the last 20 years.
Right. I think, to the socialism poll with Gen Z, of course, they're casualties of capitalism. I mean, I'll die on the millennial hill. I think millennials, we really went through it. We still are going through it. Just in terms of graduating during a huge recession and before there were any sort of like labor laws about getting paid to do things
Right.
and running around doing things for free. And you really could only ladder up if you had the support from family
Right.
to pay for your rent in these major cities where the jobs were. So it's just this like domino effect of affordability and the cost of living. But we are seeing, again with the mayor-elect, this meltdown, worried about socialism and what that looks like in the capital of capitalism in the United States of America, if not the world, New York City. And I think it's an amazing opportunity to test some, not just test. I mean, there are things that are already socialist in the city of New York. Like we do have, no one does it, but we do have a participatory budget. No one does it. But we can technically call our electeds on city council and say, I don't like this, I don't like that. Like you can
Right.
actually be involved with how the budget is decided for the city of New York.
Right.
Again, no one does it, but
People do it, but do you know who does it?
us.
Boomers.
Oh yeah, boomers do it. Yeah,
Boomers
I mean
do
that's
it.
the thing. Like I host volunteer opportunities and different things to help keep people engaged and also like make an impact. Guess who shows up?
Right. Boomers. It is self-fulfilling in a way because when you see boomers manipulating the system and rigging the economy for their benefit and for the benefit of corporations, as we have seen, when you see Citizens United break
Yeah.
the political system to always work to advantage the rich, you check out. And then you sort of abandon your own power and voice in the system. And then the system is easier to manipulate by those people who stay.
Yeah.
And so it is a bit self-fulfilling where for the young people who just see all of the flaws and would rather wash their hands of it, it just is a glide path for the Bezoses of the world to do whatever they want, for the Airbnbs of the world to get the nuanced, wonky-ass policy through lobbying that they want in every city council across America so that they can jack up, which ultimately jacks up the rent.
The data centers that are putting up the electricity
Exactly.
bills. Like it really is all connected. I hate to be so like ethereal about it, but it is all connected.
Right.
And it really does begin with people becoming more involved with their local, state, and federal elections and electing leaders who are going to advocate for their best interests and like legislatively take some of that power away from the people who control these different parts of our economy and our government. And I think we'll talk about this for the next year, which is like candidates who have the lived experience of the people they will be representing. Right now, I think there's a huge disconnect there. We saw it with the mayoral. We're seeing it with the shutdown. And Schumer, who's been in office for, 20 plus years, 30 plus years at this point. The lived experience is just not there anymore.
On that exact note, I do just want to hit on one such candidate to get your immediate hot take. This is
I know who it is.
hot off the presses in the last 12 hours.
Yeah.
Jack Schlossberg
Mhm.
running for Congress here in this very district.
Mhm.
He's a Kennedy, for those who don't know, if you're not
The-
extremely online,
The only grandson of JFK.
the only grandson of JFK. And he has almost 1 million followers on TikTok. He's running for Congress for Nadler's seat in a crowded primary. What are your thoughts?
Go for it.
Okay, we decided today's episode is at an 11, so I'm going to need an 11 answer from you.
I honestly don't know the full field. Who else is in the primary?
Okay. Michael Asher, who's going to get endorsed by Nadler as his chosen replacement. Alex Boris, not sure if I'm saying the last name right, who's a local elected, Eric Botcher, and then a bunch of other people.
I think that he obviously has an extremely powerful and substantial digital media presence, which will be helpful for him. I think, go for it. I don't really care about the nepotism with the Kennedy thing. He's extremely intelligent. You have to think about the lived experience there, right? Being in Kennedy, that provides certain privilege. I'd like to see his policy agenda. I am someone who's like, you tell me who I need to get elected, and I do it. I'm a workhorse.
Right. Yeah.
When it comes to elections.
Yeah.
And
I'm a snob.
And you're a snob.
I have talked with Jack Schlossberg before.
Oh.
And he's an interesting guy. And I think he has a role to play in the space. And I like that he came out and said in this huge profile that they did of him upon launch, I'm not for everyone. I'm not for everyone. Not everyone likes me. And I'm fine with that. It is so obvious and so contrary to the mainstream Democratic thought that all Democrats are trying to run and be everything to everyone. And he's kind of a weirdo, and he's really zany and says really off the wall and controversial things. And he's like, that's it. That's who I am. And honestly, that resonates. It resonates with the young people, and it resonates online. We've talked about sort of the power of a flawed candidate, but it's also just the power of not trying to be cookie cutter, not trying to be for everyone. And I think that there's power in that. To me, the most important thing is that we're going to have someone representing this district who can go get our bag.
Yeah.
That New York sends billions and billions of dollars to DC and we get none of it back.
Period.
And I think that having someone who is going to be a tactician in getting our shit in the budget and bringing money back is more important to me than having my representative be a cultural warrior.
There you have it.
Give me money, please.
Well, this is a whole other thing with the capitalism of it all, and we can talk about it because it's the hill I die on. How much money we give, the city of New York, the state of New York, but specifically the city, gives to the feds. Trump, I'm coming for you. If you're like, I'm not going to give you money, fuck you. It's my money.
Well, I mean, this precedent that Trump has set is that we don't have to give any money to any Republican states moving forward. Once we have the next Democrat in, it's going to be like, however much your state sends to the government is how much money the government is sending back to your state. California and New York currently get back, I think it's like somewhere between 40 and 50 cents for every dollar in taxes that we pay to the federal government. Let's dial that up to 100 and say, I want 100 pennies back for every 100 pennies that I give to the federal government. And suddenly New York will become the utopia that Mamdani has said it can be. It's giving. Clickbait or double click? This week, Glennis, we have so much double click going on. Let's see if we can find any clickbait in here at all. First one, Donald Trump announces he wants to create a 15-year car loan and 50-year mortgage.
Double click. I went off on this online. A 50-year mortgage? That is so deeply, deeply depressing. There's so many movies on this.
Big Short.
Big Short, like just how insidious that is. Oh, you can buy a $400,000 house and pay $1 million in interest to the bank. Rent forever, people. Rent forever. Never buy a home. This is so insidious.
Trump promises $2,000 checks to every American as a result of the tariffs.
Clickbait. He's full of shit.
He is full of shit, but I think that we should make it an issue. It's such a clear and concrete thing that he can't deliver. I absolutely think that Dems should be talking about it. I think it's something, again, only because it is so concrete of where's my money. It was a huge thing. People were angry for years that Biden seemingly shortchanged them when they got checks after he won as part of the American Rescue Plan. Not everyone got the full amount that they thought they were going to get, and people made an issue out of it for years. Make it an issue. Trump fired the Fannie Mae watchdogs who were investigating Bill Pulte for illegally accessing mortgage documents of Democrats.
That's double click because there's a there. Like we talked about this a couple weeks ago. It seemed like the weird thing that Trump had on these Democratic electeds or administration officials to get them for fraud was mortgage fraud. And we talked about it. It was so weird. It was like, why are you looking at their mortgages and how do you defraud a mortgage? Like, it just didn't make sense. And turns out it might not actually make sense.
Yeah.
And they might have done something a little sus there.
We smelled something stanky and turns out there was shit on the shoe. Google is going all in on 2 bills to stop robocalls and scam texts.
Great, go for it.
I don't know if Republicans can actually get it done because they're not even showing up to work anymore, but it would be really great if they could stop the robocalls from abroad. And that's what this bill would theoretically do. Let's see if Republicans can do anything with it. All the Democrats are already on it.
Yeah.
Let's see if they'll even let them vote on it.
Yeah. Can I do it? It's Giving for you that's connected.
Go ahead.
Okay, I want to show you this. So on Morning Joe the other morning, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, whatever, rich white guy.
He's one of the gay supervillains of the Trump administration. There are quite a number of them, actually. Don't worry, he's not invited to White Party this year.
He was on Morning Joe, and they asked him about the Argentinian bailout.
Secretary, amid this discussion of costs and prices and affordability, how does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans? You're the president's point person on that. Can you explain to those here who are feeling the pinch, including America's farmers, why the United States is helping out Argentina?
Well, do you know what a swap line is?
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how...
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. We used our financial balance sheet to stabilize the government. One of our great allies in Latin America, during an election, the president there won in a landslide. The government's going to make money, and I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore.
It's giving yes and. Because you're already doing that.
When I thought I was gooped, like, one, get him in media training stat. He literally, admitted, he's like, during an election, he won by a landslide, check.
That was the goal of the bailout.
We bought the election for him.
Right.
And then says, I'd rather be doing that than a thing you're already doing.
Right. It's giving, I have a bridge to sell you. Because if he thinks that the U.S. government made money on that, I would love to be doing negotiations with him over any business dealing, because the U.S. government didn't make a dime on that. That was a shit deal for the U.S. We just literally drove over a truckload of cash and dropped it off at the president's house. Send him off with a good vibe.
So the Supreme Court said, not today, Kim. We don't want to hear you saying that gay people shouldn't have the right to get married.
Yeah, that was such an important win. And it's good to remember that people were really panicked when there were headlines like Kim Davis petitions the Supreme Court. I got so many DMs, people saying marriage is over. This is it. They're going to destroy all of it.
Well,
and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, and let's remind everyone, 4-time divorcee, Kim Davis, who clearly values the sanctity of marriage.
Right.
Fucking loser. Eat shit. See you later.
Yeah. Okay, so this hand is available, guys. I'm waiting.
Oh, DMs are open.
The DMs are open. Still legal for now, but the clock is
the clock is ticking. Yeah, they said, I put something on TikTok yesterday that was like, some comedian was like, you're safe for now.
Yeah, one more year, hopefully, to get that rock.
Good
so
vibe.
I'm waiting for it. Have a great week. And this week, we're going to play you off with some of our listeners' messages to our favorite senator, Chuck Schumer.
Chuck Schumer, you are a spineless little man who needs to leave office because you suck at your job. Millions of Americans were paying the price, and we're happy to do so that you guys could actually stand on something, and yet you fell like a fucking deck of cards.
Hey, Chuck. It's Allison from East Hampton, the very affluent community that lives at the eastern end of Long Island, where we think that everything's okay, but it's not. And right now, we need you to protect your constituents like you have never done before. We are asking, we are begging, because establishment Dems need to do something different to get a different result. And right now, playing nice and being polite does not work. So fuck being nice, and we need to play the game differently.
Chuck, I'm a Democrat in Pennsylvania that knocked doors for Kamala, and I want to be supportive of your leadership, but at this point, I'm done. I can't. We need leaders who are going to fight for working families as hard as the Republicans fight for billionaires and corporations. And that's not what I've seen from you. And it's time to retire, and it's time to help usher in the next generation.
For Schumer, respectfully, go chuck yourself.
The people have made their voice clear.
Vibes Only is a production of Vibes Only the Podcast, LLC, produced by us, Glennis Mahar and
Brian Derrick,
with audio producer Baze Hohen and digital producer Maddie Hart. We want to hear from you. Send us voice notes, drop a comment, and if you're vibing with the pod, share it with your friends. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you next week.
See ya.